Captain Jake Morrison stood at the main window of the United Nations Space Command Center, watching the dark sky above New York. 3 weeks had passed since the strange signals first appeared on Earth's deep space monitors. Today, those signals would finally mean something. "Captain Morrison, they're here," called Lisa Grant from her communication station. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and fear that Jake had heard in every person's voice for the past month. Jake turned away from the window and walked to the center of the command room. Around him, dozens of people sat at computer screens and control panels. Everyone looked nervous. This was the day that would change everything for the human race. "Put it through the main speakers, Lisa," Jake said. He kept his voice calm, but his heart was beating fast. No human had ever talked to beings from another world before. The room filled with a strange musical sound. Then a voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded cold and distant. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Coalition. We have been watching your world and have decided to make contact." Dr. Amy Parker, Earth's top expert on alien life, moved closer to Jake. She had spent years studying the possibility of life on other worlds, but now that it was real, she looked shocked. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations Space Command," Jake replied into his microphone. "We welcome you to our solar system, Ambassador Veltar." A low sound came through the speakers, almost like laughter, but not quite human. "How charming. You speak as if this system belongs to you. We find your confidence amusing." Pete Collins, the base commander, frowned at the tone in the alien's voice. He had spent 20 years in the military and knew when someone was talking down to him. "We would like to arrange a meeting," Jake continued, ignoring the alien's rude comment. "Perhaps you could send representatives to Earth, or we could meet at a neutral location." "That will not be necessary," Veltar replied. "We will come to your world tomorrow. Prepare a landing area at your primary command facility. We have much to discuss about your future in our galaxy." The communication ended without another word. The command room fell silent except for the soft humming of computers and air systems. "Did that sound friendly to anyone else?" Pete asked, breaking the silence. Amy shook her head. "They talked to us like we were children. Did you hear how he said your future in our galaxy? Like they own it." Lisa looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm getting reports from observatories around the world. There are at least 12 large ships in orbit around Earth. They appeared out of nowhere." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. 12 ships was not a small greeting party. "How large are we talking about?" "Each one is about the size of a city block. They're just sitting there, not moving, not responding to any signals." The next morning, Jake stood on the landing pad outside the command center with Amy, Pete, and 20 other important people from around the world. The alien ship had landed silently, like a massive silver egg sitting on the concrete. A door opened in the side of the ship, and 3 figures walked out. They looked somewhat human, but taller and thinner, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They wore simple white clothes that seemed to glow slightly in the morning sun. Ambassador Veltar walked in front of the other 2. When he reached Jake, he stopped and looked down at the humans. Even though Jake was 6 feet tall, the alien stood at least a foot taller. "So these are the dominant life forms of this world," Veltar said to his companions, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Quite primitive, as our scans indicated." Jake stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We're honored to meet representatives from the Galactic Coalition." Veltar's dark eyes looked Jake up and down like he was examining an interesting insect. "Yes, I'm sure you are. We have come to offer your species membership in our coalition. It is a generous offer considering your current level of development." Amy moved closer to Jake. "What do you mean by our current level of development?" One of the other aliens spoke up. "Your energy production is barely adequate. Your transportation methods are laughably slow. Your computer systems are simple toys compared to ours." The alien gestured toward the command center building. "This structure would not even qualify as a storage building on our worlds." Pete's face turned red, but Jake put a hand on his arm to keep him calm. We understand we have much to learn, Jake said carefully. Perhaps you could tell us more about this coalition you mentioned. Veltar smiled, but it was not a warm expression. The coalition maintains peace and order in this galaxy. We have over 10,000 member worlds all working together under our guidance. Your world will be classified as a Class 7 civilization, which means you will have limited rights and responsibilities. Limited rights? Amy asked. What does that mean? It means you will be protected from the dangers of the galaxy, while you slowly develop into something more useful, Veltar replied. We will establish monitoring stations on your moon and in orbit around your world. For your own safety, of course. Jake felt the cold feeling in his stomach getting worse. This was not the friendly first contact that humans had hoped for. These aliens were talking about taking control of Earth and treating humans like pets. How long would it take for Earth to reach a higher classification? Jake asked. Veltar made that strange laughing sound again. For a primitive species like yours? Perhaps 1,000 years if you work very hard and follow our instructions carefully. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The aliens made it clear that they considered humans to be barely above animals in intelligence. They spoke about Earth's resources like they already owned them and talked about human civilization like it was a cute but unimportant hobby. When the aliens finally returned to their ship, Jake gathered with the other human leaders. Well, Pete said quietly, I don't think we're going to be friends with our new neighbors. Amy nodded. They're not here to help us. They're here to control us. Jake looked up at the alien ship as it lifted off the ground without making a sound. Then we better start figuring out what we're going to do about it. 6 months had passed since the aliens first landed on Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the underground war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, studying the reports that covered every table. The news was not good. They're treating us like we're stupid, said General Ryan Hayes, pointing at a map showing alien positions across the solar system. Look at this. They put monitoring stations everywhere, but they're not even trying to hide them from us. Kate nodded as she read through the latest intelligence reports. The aliens had built bases on the moon, Mars, and several asteroids. They acted like humans were too dumb to understand what they were really doing. What's the latest from Sam's team on Mars? Kate asked. Ryan pulled out a data pad. Sam Davis sent this report yesterday. The aliens think our Mars colony is just a small research station. They don't realize we have over 50,000 people living there now. Kate smiled grimly. The aliens had made their first big mistake. They looked at the official numbers that Earth governments had published years ago and never bothered to check if those numbers were still correct. On Mars, engineer Sam Davis walked through the hidden sections of the colony that the aliens had never seen. The Zephyrians visited the colony every few weeks, but they only looked at the surface buildings. They never asked about the underground cities that humans had been building for the past 10 years. Any word from Earth? Asked his assistant Tony Martinez, as they entered a massive factory floor hidden beneath the red planet's surface. Admiral Sullivan says to keep doing what we're doing, Sam replied. The aliens still think we're primitive. They have no idea what we're actually capable of building. The factory around them stretched for miles underground. Robots and human workers built advanced equipment that the aliens would never expect humans to possess. The Zephyrians thought human technology was limited to basic rockets and simple computers. They had no idea that humans had been developing advanced manufacturing for decades. Back on Earth, Dr. Nina Foster worked in a secret laboratory beneath the Nevada desert. In front of her sat pieces of alien technology that her team had been studying for months. The aliens had been careless with their equipment, leaving broken parts and old devices where humans could find them. Ben, look at this, Nina called to physicist Ben Carter, who was working at another table. Their computer systems don't even have security protection. It's like they never imagined anyone would try to break into them. Ben walked over and looked at the alien device Nina was holding. That's because they think we're too stupid to understand their technology. They probably don't put locks on their doors either. Nina had already figured out how several alien systems worked. The technology was advanced, but it was not impossible to understand. The aliens had grown so used to dealing with primitive species that they had forgotten to be careful around humans. I think I can build something better, Nina said, holding up a small alien power cell. Their energy systems are efficient, but they're not very creative. If we combine their power source with our engineering methods, we could make something they've never seen before. At the United Nations building in New York, Captain Jake Morrison sat in another meeting with Ambassador Veltar. These meetings happened every month, and they always followed the same pattern. The aliens would make demands, and the humans would pretend to be confused and helpless. "Your species continues to disappoint us," Veltar said, looking down at Jake from across the conference table. "We asked for a complete list of your military weapons 6 months ago. The list you provided was clearly incomplete." Jake tried to look embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Ambassador. Our record-keeping is not very good. We're still a young civilization, as you've pointed out many times." Veltar made that strange, laughing sound. "Indeed. Perhaps we should send our own people to count your weapons for you. It would be more efficient." "Of course," Jake replied. "We would welcome any help you can provide." What the aliens did not know was that the weapon list Jake had given them was completely fake. Every item on the list was either broken, outdated, or did not exist at all. The real human military had been hidden so well that even most humans did not know where it was. After the meeting, Jake walked to a small coffee shop 3 blocks away. At a corner table sat Intelligence Chief Claire Watson, reading a newspaper and drinking coffee like any normal person. "How did it go?" Claire asked without looking up from her paper. "Same as always," Jake replied, sitting down across from her. "They think we're helpless children who can't even count our own weapons properly." Claire turned a page of her newspaper. "Good. My people intercepted more of their communications last week. They're planning to start mining operations on Earth within the next year. They want our rare metals for their fleet expansion." Jake felt angry, but he kept his voice calm. "Any word on when they plan to move us out of the way?" The Zephyrian Council is still debating whether to relocate all humans to a small reservation or just reduce our population to a more manageable size. Claire's voice stayed flat, but Jake could see the anger in her eyes. "How much more time do we need?" Jake asked. "General Hayes says another 6 months minimum. Admiral Sullivan wants a full year to be safe." Jake nodded. "Then we keep playing dumb for another year." Meanwhile, on the alien monitoring station orbiting Earth, Zephyrian Science Officer Colvin updated his report on human capabilities. He had been studying Earth for 6 months and had reached clear conclusions about the primitive species below. "Humans show little advancement in technology or military capability," he wrote in his daily report. "Their space program remains limited to short-range vessels. Their energy production relies on primitive fusion reactors. Their computer systems are decades behind coalition standards." Colvin looked out at Earth through his station's main window. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and harmless. The humans living there seemed to spend most of their time fighting each other over small pieces of land and limited resources. Military assessment. "Human defensive capabilities are minimal," he continued typing. "Their weapons are chemical-based, projectiles and simple explosive devices. No evidence of advanced defensive systems or coordinated military strategy. Species appears incapable of unity even when facing external threats." What Colvin did not see were the thousands of hidden facilities scattered across Earth's surface and throughout the solar system. He did not detect the advanced communication networks that connected human colonies from Earth to Mars. He did not notice the massive manufacturing centers hidden beneath the ground, or the advanced weapons being built in secret locations. The aliens had made a critical error. They had looked at humanity's official capabilities and assumed that was all humans possessed. They never considered that a species might be smart enough to hide its true strength, while appearing weak and divided. In underground bunkers around the world, humans continued their secret preparations. Admiral Sullivan coordinated with military leaders from every nation on Earth. General Hayes organized training exercises that the aliens never detected. Engineers like Sam Davis and scientists like Nina Foster worked day and night to build the tools humanity would need. The aliens continued to believe they were dealing with a primitive, helpless species. They saw exactly what humans wanted them to see, and nothing more. Time was running out. but humanity was almost ready to show the galaxy what they were really capable of. Colonel Max Turner walked through the hidden command center buried 2 miles beneath the Colorado mountains. The massive complex stretched for miles in every direction, filled with the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. Above ground, the aliens still believed they were watching a primitive planet with simple weapons and basic computers. "How many ships do we have ready?" Max asked Claire Watson as they entered the main operations room. Claire looked at her tablet. 300. Combat vessels completed and tested. Another 200 will be ready within the month. The aliens think our entire space fleet consists of 12 research ships and some cargo haulers. Max smiled. The human fleet had been built in secret facilities scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Each ship looked like a simple mining vessel from the outside, but carried weapons that would surprise any alien commander who underestimated them. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Captain Rick Thompson monitored alien communications from a base that officially did not exist. The facility was listed in all human records as an ice mining station with 20 workers. In reality, over 2,000 intelligence specialists worked there around the clock. "Sophie, come look at this," Rick called to navigator Sophie Lane, who was tracking alien ship movements. "The Zephyrians just sent new orders to their fleet commanders." Sophie walked over to Rick's station and read the intercepted message. "They're planning to demand Earth's complete surrender next month. They want all human military forces to report to collection points for processing." "Processing?" Rick asked. "Look at the technical details," Sophie said, pointing at her screen. "They plan to relocate 90% of humanity to a small continent and use the rest of the planet for mining operations. The remaining humans will work as manual laborers." Rick felt his anger rising but kept his voice steady. "Send this to Admiral Sullivan immediately. She needs to know their timeline has moved up." Back on Earth, weapons designer Tony Martinez worked with systems analyst Beth Rogers in a facility hidden beneath a normal-looking farm in Kansas. They had spent months combining human engineering with alien technology, creating weapons that neither species had ever seen before. "The testing results are better than we hoped," Beth said, showing Tony the latest data. "Our hybrid energy weapons are actually more powerful than pure alien technology." Tony examined the numbers on Beth's screen. "How is that possible? Their technology is supposedly centuries ahead of ours." "That's exactly the problem," Beth replied. "Their technology is old and standardized. They stopped innovating because they never met anyone who could challenge them. Our weapons are new and designed specifically to fight their systems." The weapon in front of them looked like a normal human rifle, but it fired energy bursts that could cut through alien armor like paper. More importantly, alien sensors could not detect the weapon until it was fired. The Zephyrians had never learned to scan for technology that mixed human and alien components. In another part of the facility, engineers tested new types of armor that could stop alien weapons while remaining invisible to alien detection systems. They had also developed small devices that could disable alien equipment without leaving any trace of sabotage. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in her command center, reviewing reports from human operations across the solar system. Operation Silent. Thunder had been running for 8 months and everything was going according to plan. "General Hayes, what's the status on troop training?" Kate asked. Ryan Hayes pulled up a holographic display showing human forces around the solar system. "We have over 2 million trained soldiers ready for combat. The aliens think our total military consists of about 50,000 poorly equipped troops." Kate nodded. "And the alien positions?" "Completely mapped," Ryan replied. "Captain Thompson's intelligence teams have tracked every alien ship, base, and communication relay in the solar system. We know exactly where they are and what they're doing at all times." The aliens had made another critical mistake. They positioned their forces assuming humans would either surrender immediately or put up only token resistance. Their ships were spread out to cover as much territory as possible, not concentrated for serious fighting. On Mars, Sam Davis received new orders from Earth Command. "Tony, we need to accelerate the sabotage program," he told his assistant. "The aliens are planning to make their move next month instead of next year." Over the past months, human technicians had been repairing alien equipment throughout the solar system. Every repair included hidden modifications that would cause the equipment to fail when activated by a remote signal. The aliens never suspected anything because they believed humans were too primitive to understand their technology. "How many systems have we compromised?" Tony asked. Sam checked his records. "Every major alien facility in the solar system has at least some equipment that we've modified. Their communication networks, power systems, weapon controls, and ship engines all have our surprises waiting for them." The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that they never bothered to double-check human repair work. They assumed that even if humans tried to sabotage something, they would be too stupid to do it effectively. Dr. Nina Foster and Ben Carter had made their own breakthrough in the Nevada laboratory. They had successfully reverse-engineered alien shield technology and improved it using human engineering principles. "Our shields can actually stop their weapons," Nina explained to Ben as they watched test results. "But more importantly, their weapons cannot adapt to our shield frequency because they've never seen technology like this before." Ben smiled. "Their computers are programmed to fight enemies that use standard galactic technology. They won't know how to respond to weapons and defenses that don't exist in their databases." Meanwhile, the aliens continued their preparations for taking complete control of Earth. Ambassador Veltar met with his military commanders on the main command ship orbiting the planet. "The humans continue to be cooperative," Veltar reported. "They have provided all requested information about their industrial capabilities and population centers. They show no signs of organized resistance." Fleet Commander Zarkol nodded. "My scouts report that human military activity remains minimal. They appear to be following our instructions to reduce their armed forces." "Excellent," Veltar replied. "We can proceed with the final phase next month. The human species will be properly managed within 60 days. What the aliens did not know was that every piece of information humans had provided was carefully crafted to mislead them. Population numbers were wrong. Industrial reports were fake. Military assessments were completely false. The aliens had built their entire strategy around information that bore no relationship to reality. In secret facilities across the solar system, humans put the finishing touches on their preparations. Weapons were loaded onto ships that looked like cargo haulers. Soldiers moved into position at bases that were officially listed as research stations. Communication networks activated that the aliens had never detected. Admiral Sullivan sent a coded message to all human commanders. "Operation Silent Thunder enters final phase in 30 days. All units prepare for activation on my signal." The message reached Captain Jake Morrison at UN headquarters, Colonel Max Turner in Colorado, Captain Rick Thompson on Europa, Sam Davis on Mars, and hundreds of other commanders throughout the solar system. For almost a year, humans had played the role of primitive, helpless beings who needed alien guidance and protection. They had acted confused by alien technology, grateful for alien attention, and incapable of organized resistance. The performance was almost over. Soon, the aliens would discover what humans were actually capable of when they stopped pretending to be weak. The galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous predator was one that looked like harmless prey. Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking down at the blue planet below. Today, the Galactic Coalition would finally take complete control of Earth and its primitive inhabitants. Everything had gone according to plan. "Send the message to all human governments," Veltar ordered his communications officer. "Tell them they have 24 hours to evacuate all major cities. We begin mining operations tomorrow." The message reached Earth within minutes. In the UN building, Captain Jake Morrison received the ultimatum along with world leaders from every nation. The aliens demanded that humans abandon their homes and report to designated areas for relocation. "This is it," Jake said quietly into his communicator. "Admiral Sullivan, they just made their final demand." Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Admiral Kate Sullivan heard Jake's message and looked at the massive display showing alien positions throughout the solar system. After nearly a year of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. "All units, this is Admiral Sullivan," she spoke into her command microphone. "Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Execute Phase 1 immediately." The message reached every human commander in the solar system, simultaneously. On Mars, Sam Davis smiled as he pressed a small button on his control panel. Across the red planet, alien equipment that humans had been repairing for months suddenly began to malfunction. Power systems failed in alien bases. Communication networks went dead. Weapon platforms shut down without warning. The aliens on Mars found themselves blind and defenseless within minutes, unable to understand what was happening to their technology. "What did you do?" demanded the Zephyrian base commander when he burst into Sam's workshop. Sam looked up from his workbench with an innocent expression. "I don't understand, Commander. Is something wrong with your equipment?" Before the alien could answer, the lights went out completely. Emergency power systems that should have activated automatically remained silent. The alien base was now running on nothing but the dim glow of handheld devices. Similar scenes played out across the solar system as hidden human programs activated in alien systems everywhere. The Zephyrians had been so confident in their technology that they never imagined humans could turn it against them. On Europa, Captain Rick Thompson watched alien communications channels fill with confused reports from commanders who could not contact their fleets or control their equipment. The aliens were trying to figure out what was going wrong, but their computers kept giving them error messages they had never seen before. "Sophie, are you seeing this?" Rick asked Navigator Sophie Lane as she monitored alien fleet movements. "Their ships are trying to regroup, but half of them can't communicate with each other," Sophie replied. "The ones that still have working systems are getting conflicting orders from different commanders." The aliens had built their entire command structure around technology that always worked perfectly. When that technology failed, they had no backup plans because they had never needed them before. In space near Earth's moon, Fleet Commander Zarkol tried desperately to understand why his ships were losing power and weapon systems. His technical officers ran diagnostic programs that found nothing wrong, even as critical systems continued to shut down around them. "Sir, we're receiving reports from bases throughout the solar system," reported his communications officer. "Everyone is experiencing similar equipment failures." "That's impossible," Zarkol replied. "Our technology is fail-safe. These systems cannot malfunction simultaneously unless—" He stopped speaking as a terrible thought occurred to him. "Unless what, sir?" asked his officer. "Unless someone sabotaged them deliberately," Zarkol said slowly. "But that would require understanding our technology at a level that these primitives could never achieve." At that moment, Zarkol's sensors detected something that made his blood turn cold. Hundreds of ships were approaching Earth from every direction. Large, heavily armed vessels that his computers could not identify or classify. "Where did those ships come from?" he demanded. His sensor officer stared at his screens in confusion. "Sir, according to our records, the humans only possess 12 small research vessels. These readings must be errors in our detection systems." But the ships were not errors. Admiral Sullivan's hidden fleet had spent months moving into position, while disguised as asteroid mining operations and cargo haulers. Now they revealed their true nature as advanced warships equipped with hybrid human-alien technology. "All ships. This is Admiral Sullivan." Kate's voice reached every human vessel in the fleet. "You are authorized to engage enemy targets. Show them what humanity is really capable of." Pilot Jack Robinson led the first wave of human fighters toward the alien fleet near Earth. His ship looked like a simple transport vessel, but it carried weapons that could punch through alien armor like it was made of paper. "This is Red Leader, to all wings," Jack spoke into his communicator. "Remember, they think we're primitives flying scrap metal. Let's keep surprising them." The first alien ship Jack targeted was a massive cruiser that had been confidently broadcasting demands for human surrender just minutes before. Jack's hybrid energy weapons tore through the alien vessel's shields and hull in seconds. The alien commander of that ship had just enough time to send a shocked message to his fleet. "Impossible. Human weapons cannot penetrate our defenses." Then his ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Throughout the solar system, similar scenes of alien shock and human victory played out. The coalition forces had positioned themselves to fight primitive opponents using basic chemical weapons and simple tactics. Instead, They faced coordinated fleets of advanced warships using weapons and strategies they had never encountered. On the main Zephyrian command ship, Ambassador Veltar watched his invasion force being systematically destroyed by enemies he had dismissed as harmless children. His tactical computers could not analyze human battle patterns because they were programmed to fight logical, predictable opponents. "How are they doing this?" Veltar demanded of his staff. "Our intelligence reports said they were incapable of unified action or advanced technology." His intelligence officer looked at the data streaming across his screens. "Sir, it appears our intelligence was completely wrong. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities from us." "For how long?" Veltar asked. "Based on the coordination of this attack, they must have been planning this operation since we first made contact," the officer replied. "Everything they told us about their military strength, their technology, their industrial capacity, all of it was false. General Ryan Hayes coordinated the ground assault on alien bases throughout the solar system. Human troops that the aliens believed were poorly trained and equipped swept through alien positions with devastating efficiency. The alien soldiers had been trained to fight other alien species that used familiar weapons and tactics. They had no idea how to respond to human creativity and adaptability. Every time they thought they understood human strategy, the humans did something completely unexpected." On Mars, Sam Davis walked out of his workshop to find Zephyrian soldiers surrendering to human forces. The alien base commander who had been so confident just hours before now looked confused and defeated. "You lied to us," the alien commander said to Sam. "You pretended to be primitive repair technicians while you sabotaged our entire operation." Sam smiled. "We didn't lie about being repair technicians. We really did fix your equipment. We just made some improvements that you didn't know about." Within 12 hours of Admiral Sullivan's activation order, the alien invasion force had been completely defeated. Ships that had seemed invincible were burning wrecks floating in space. Bases that had controlled entire regions were now under human control. The Galactic Coalition had expected to face confused primitives armed with chemical weapons. Instead, they had been defeated by a coordinated military operation that used their own technology against them more effectively than they could use it themselves. On his command ship, now powerless and surrounded by human vessels, Ambassador Veltar began to understand the magnitude of his mistake. The humans had never been primitive, they had been pretending. Ambassador Veltar sat in a small room aboard his own command ship, no longer in control of anything. Human soldiers stood guard outside his door, and human technicians had taken over his bridge. The mighty Zephyrian fleet was now nothing more than floating scrap metal and prisoner transport vessels. Admiral Kate Sullivan entered the room where Veltar waited. She carried a data pad and wore the calm expression of someone who had just won a war that her enemy never saw coming. "Ambassador," Kate said, sitting down across from the defeated alien, "we need to discuss the terms of your surrender." Veltar looked up at her with his large, dark eyes. For the first time since arriving at Earth, he seemed small and unsure of himself. "I do not understand how this happened. Our intelligence said you were primitive. Our computers said you were harmless." "Your computers were right about one thing," Kate replied. "We are harmless to friends, but you never tried to be our friends." Kate activated her datapad and showed Veltar the real numbers. "Would you like to know what we actually have? 3 million trained soldiers, 800 warships, manufacturing facilities on 12 worlds and moons, energy production that exceeds your entire fleet's capacity." Veltar stared at the information in shock, but our scans showed none of this. Our monitoring stations detected nothing. "That's because we built everything underground or made it look like something else," Kate explained. "Your people are very smart, but you're not very creative. You only see what you expect to see." Meanwhile, General Ryan Hayes coordinated the liberation of other species throughout the galaxy. The human fleet had discovered that the Galactic Coalition controlled hundreds of worlds filled with beings who had been conquered, just like Earth was supposed to be. "Admiral, we're getting messages from 47 different species asking for help," Ryan reported over the communication system. "Apparently word is spreading that someone finally defeated the Coalition." Kate smiled. Tell them we'll be there as soon as we finish cleaning up our own solar system. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison walked through the UN building where just days before he had been receiving alien ultimatums. Now he was coordinating humanitarian aid for the thousands of coalition prisoners who needed food, medical care, and transportation back to their home worlds. Any word from the other coalition fleets? Jake asked Intelligence Chief Claire Watson. Claire checked her reports. Most of them are retreating to their core territories. A few are asking to negotiate surrender terms. None of them seem interested in continuing this war. The speed of the coalition's collapse had surprised even the humans. The aliens had built their entire empire on the assumption that they were superior to everyone else. When that assumption proved wrong, their whole system fell apart. Dr. Amy Parker worked with a team of coalition scientists who had volunteered to help repair the damage done during the war. Many of the alien prisoners were not soldiers but researchers and engineers who had never wanted to conquer anyone. "Dr. Parker," said one of the Zephyrian scientists, "may I ask you something?" "Of course," Amy replied. "How did your species learn to hide so effectively?" "Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy," Amy thought for a moment. "We learned from nature. On Earth, the most successful predators often look harmless. They blend in with their surroundings until it's time to strike." The alien scientist nodded slowly. "We never considered that intelligence could be used for deception on such a scale. We assumed all advanced species would be direct and logical like us." "That was your mistake," Amy said gently. "You forgot that there are many different ways to be intelligent." Back on the command ship, Veltar continued his conversation with Admiral Sullivan. He was beginning to understand just how completely the coalition had misjudged humanity. "You must understand," Veltar said. "We truly believed we were helping primitive species by guiding them into our civilization." Kate studied the alien's face. "Did you ask any of those species if they wanted help?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "No. We assumed they would be grateful." "That's the difference between us," Kate said. "We asked other species what they wanted. Most of them wanted freedom." Veltar picked up a data pad that Kate had given him. On the screen was the Coalition's own database entry about humanity, the final report that he would have to submit to his government. "I must complete this record," Veltar said quietly. "It will be transmitted to every Coalition world as a warning about future encounters with your species." Kate nodded. "What will you write?" Veltar began typing slowly. His fingers moved across the alien keyboard as he composed the most important document he had ever written. Species designation, human. Homeworld, Earth, Sol system. Previous classification, harmless primitive suitable for Class 7 membership. He paused and looked at Kate. "What should I put as the new classification?" Kate thought carefully. "Whatever you think is accurate." Veltar continued typing. "New classification, apex predators masquerading as prey, military capability, far, exceeds previous estimates, technology level, advanced with emphasis on deception and adaptive engineering, strategic assessment, extremely dangerous when threatened." "Is that all?" Kate asked. Veltar added more lines to his report. "Cultural notes. Species exhibits unusual ability to coordinate large-scale deception while maintaining appearance of primitive disorganization. Recommends extreme caution in future contact scenarios. Military notes. Human tactics unpredictable by standard coalition analysis systems. Weapons technology combines captured alien components with unknown human innovations, resulting in capabilities that exceed original specifications." Veltar stopped typing and looked at Kate again. "There is something else I must include. A personal warning based on my observations." "What's that?" Kate asked. "Humans are capable of long-term strategic thinking that spans multiple generations. Your species planned this operation before my people even arrived at your world. You were ready for us before we knew you existed." Kate smiled. "We've been thinking about meeting other species for a very long time. We always wondered if they would be friendly or hostile. We prepared for both possibilities." Veltar added the final lines to his report. Warning to all coalition forces. Do not underestimate human intelligence or capability. Do not assume human weakness based on initial observations. Do not attempt conquest of human territory without overwhelming force and complete intelligence. He paused, then added one more line. Personal assessment. They never took us seriously until it was too late. Veltar submitted the report to the BAO Coalition database. Within hours, it would be read by military commanders and government leaders throughout the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be trifled with. 3 months later, representatives from dozens of species arrived at Earth for the first Galactic Freedom Conference. Admiral Sullivan welcomed them to a world that had become the symbol of successful resistance to the Coalition's rule. We're not interested in building an empire, Kate told the assembled delegates. We just want to make sure everyone gets to choose their own future. Captain Jake Morrison read Veltar's final database entry aloud to the conference. When he finished, the room was quiet for a long moment. Is this how you want to be known throughout the galaxy? Asked a delegate from the Alterian Republic. As predators pretending to be prey? Jake looked around the room at the faces of beings from dozens of different worlds. We'd rather be known as friends who can be dangerous enemies when necessary. The conference resulted in the Treaty of Sol, which established principles of freedom and self-determination for all species. The coalition was dissolved, and its worlds were free to choose their own governments. Back in his prison cell, Veltar finished his personal journal with a final entry. I have learned that the most dangerous mistake a predator can make is to underestimate its prey. The humans were never our prey. We were theirs from the moment we entered their solar system. They played a game that lasted nearly a year, and we never realized we were playing. By the time we understood what they truly were, it was far too late to change the outcome. The final words in our database now serve as a warning that I hope other species will heed. They never took us seriously until it was too late. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson about humanity. They looked harmless, acted confused, and seemed helpless. But when pushed too far, they revealed themselves to be the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever encountered, and they had been hiding in plain sight all along.